Have you ever stumbled across a game that just seems perfect for you? It just ticks every single box, down to the story you want to experience, the type of gameplay you enjoy, even right down to the really strange and niche interests that you have. Well, I have. When I discovered the game Chernobylite, I honestly thought it was made for me. So fun fact, some of my more niche interests include my morbid fascination with historical disasters. Now, I do have a couple of favourites, if I can say I have favourite disasters, because, again, morbid, but I really enjoy the story of Titanic and the events that led up to it sinking, and I also really enjoy the whole Chernobyl disaster and everything that led up to that whole nuclear explosion and the things that happened after. So any sort of books, dramas, dramatic retelling, documentaries, anything that includes these disasters, I eat that stuff up. So when I found a game that was set in the Chernobyl exclusion zone, sign me up. Hello trophy hunters and welcome back to the channel. Tanya here, and today we are going to be discussing my complete and utter undying love for Chernobylite and my journey towards the platinum. So another little fun thing about this video is my Chernobylite platinum was actually also my 75th platinum. So to find a game that so accurately represents my interests and the kind of things I enjoy in gaming to be permanently encased in my milestones, that was also something I really enjoyed. Now, Chernobylite isn't the most popular game in the world, so for those of you who haven't heard of it before, Chernobylite is a survival horror game which is set in the Chernobyl exclusion zone. So this game follows Igor, a scientist who was employed at the power plant, and he has now returned to Pripyat after 30 years in order to try and track down his missing fiancée. Now, I'm not going to spoil the real meat of the story for you, because honestly, this game had me shook. And it's just one of those games that you really need to experience firsthand, because it's just going to lose all impact if I tell you what happens. So I find this game to be a really interesting mix of like Fallout, This War of Mine, and Stalker. So the feeling I couldn't shake when I first started this game was like the parallels between Chernobylite and This War of Mine. I'm not really sure if it's because of like the structure of the game, but I was just getting really similar vibes from both games, and that's not a bad thing at all, because This War of Mine is actually one of my favourite games that I've played on PlayStation, and just getting the same feeling when I played this was really nice. So the way this game is structured, it's like split into days, and each day you can choose what quest you want to do. So with Igor, he's supposed to do like the main quests, and these are the ones that further the story, and you can go and find clues which you can then help piece together Igor's dark past. And in this game you also have companions, and you can also send them out on quests, and these are kind of side quests but kind of not. You don't really have to bother with them, and it gives you like a percentage of how likely your companion is to succeed. And if they do succeed, they will bring back food and resources. So with the resources that your companions gather, you can use these to improve your base. And because the base building in this game is actually pretty in-depth, you can craft a load of things that just like improve your companion's mood, like TVs, plants, or creepy little doll thing. But you can also make like all these really cool like workbenches and, storage lockers and these like air purifiers and things. Like it's really cool. It's kind of similar to the sort of base building in Fallout 4. So as well as base building, you can also use the resources that your companions gather to craft things like armor or weapons, and you can then share these things out with your companions, and that just makes them a bit more likely to survive the quests that they do, and also makes Igor a bit more likely to survive as well. And speaking of companions, there is also a pretty decent variety of skills that you can learn from them. So after you gain experience out in the wild, and when you come back to base at night, You can then spend these experience points with your companions and, you know, learn how to be more stealthy or learn how to, you know, pick up more items from one thing, and it's just really cool. You can tailor Igor to fit in with whatever your playstyle is, and there's not a right or wrong way to play this game. You know, if you're super into stealth, you can go around every area and pick off like NAR guards with a stealth takedown. And if you're more into like running and gunning like I am, you can just craft a railgun and just go in and obliterate everything. It is fantastic. So in terms of trophies, the platinum for Chernobylite was actually incredibly enjoyable to go for. I 10 out of 10 platinum journey, loved it. There are no difficulty trophies, which is a win. There are no missable trophies, which is a win. There's not anything that you'd really be required to use a guide for. You literally can go in completely blind and you would still get the platinum after one playthrough. So all the trophies in the game are tied to main missions and recruiting companions. So although you can miss certain things in the game and there is no chapter select, you can still change events of the past. So if you make a decision in a quest that you don't like, or you've missed the chance to invite someone to your camp, for instance, you can create something called a radiation chamber, and you can then retroactively change the events that have happened just to change the outcome of those events. This also applies if you die in game. You get to go into this like sort of special ulterior dimension thing, and you can alter the events that have happened then too. So as I said, all the trophies are tied to the story. There's not any missables, there's not any collectibles, there's not any difficulty, there's not any online. It's just a fantastic, simple list, which is rare to find. So Chernobylite isn't a very long game. I got this over the course of a weekend. However, if you played on the lowest difficulty and you just like skipped all the cutscenes and everything, you could probably get it down to like a day, but you then miss the whole game. So I wouldn't really recommend doing that. The game is an experience, and I recommend just going in for it. As I said, you don't need a guide, you can play it blind and you can still get everything, so you've got nothing to lose by just trying things out. I do think it is important to note though that this game is not without its bugs. So the reason I actually stumbled across the game Chernobylite is because I came across a thread on PSN profiles asking if this game was a horrendous mess on PS5, which I was quite lucky. I didn't have a lot of issues with it, but I did have some. So I had a couple of crashes near the beginning of the game. I had just crafted the weapons bench, and every time I tried to get Igor to modify his revolver, my game would crash. Thankfully, the day after it stopped doing that, but I'm not sure what triggered the crash in the first place. And then towards the end of the game, I think it started on like day 18, I got a weird save glitch where when Igor would go to sleep, the game would like corrupt itself and just delete all my saves. So, you know, that was a thing. That happened on day 18 and I think like day 23 or something. So it did only happen twice, but I mean, that's 2 more times than it should have happened. So if you are a PS Plus user, this is when I would utilize those cloud saves. After my first save disappearance, I backed up my save then on day 18. And then when it happened the second time on day 23, I backed up after every single day. So depending on the glitches that you have in game, when you get closer to the end, you might want to just back up your save at the end of each day. So that being said, although I got lucky with glitches, I know there are also issues with the quests. So certain events in certain quests need to happen in order to trigger future events. And if the quest doesn't trigger these events, it means you can get to like day 20 and then not have any more main missions. Someone was actually messaging me about that on PSN, asking how I completed the game. And, you know, they seem to have a really rough time with glitches, which is really unfortunate because it does put a bit of a cloud over the game. But they got the platinum in the end, so that was really nice. And although I have mentioned the glitches with the game, please don't let that put you off because, you know, it's luck of the draw really. Any game can be glitchy and it is just one of those things, especially with sort of smaller games like these. They're not as polished as AAA games, which tend to release broken, but you know, whatever. Yeah, don't let the issues with the game put you off because, you know, for the, like 90% of the game, I had no issues. And like, even though the game wiped my saves, I didn't lose any progress because I was still actively playing the game. You know, my game didn't crash and then corrupt everything. Yeah, I would still recommend giving this game a shot, even with the issues. I do think it's a lot more stable on PS5. Another thing I should probably note is the load times for this game are pretty long. So if you do have a PS5, I'd recommend playing it on that because I don't even want to imagine how long you'd be waiting on PS4. Glitches aside, I would probably give Chernobylite a solid 8 out of 10. I really loved this game. I just had the best time, you know, exploring the story and, you know, managing my base and making friends with my companions and feeding them all bread. I loved it. I also thought it was a bit surreal getting to explore all these real life locations that I'd seen in so many documentaries and just getting to look at them closely and, you know, touch things. And it really was so interesting getting to be in the control room of Reactor 4 or getting to be in Pripyat Hospital. Like, it was just that I really enjoyed, and they really have captured the likeness of Pripyat so well. Like, the developers have done an amazing job with that. So despite everything, you know, Chernobylite was a fantastic game. I am incredibly happy that I bought it. I'm very happy this is my Platinum 75. You know, it was a nice 75 Platinum to go for. So have you ever played Chernobylite? Let me know. Also, have you ever found a game that is your version of Chernobylite? The game that you feel was made for you, where you are the target audience? Because honestly, I have never been more excited than when I found this game. So let me know what yours are. So I hope you have enjoyed this video and thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you all in the very next one. Bye!